I'm not even aware of it.
Yeah.
And just a very small percentage reflect back. But I mean, my average view time is about 10 minutes per video, and that means that there are a lot of people very seriously going through the whole meditation.
Yeah, I
And
did.
I'm in awe of the effect I'm having. I just thought here and there maybe but piddly stuff, but no, it seems to be having quite an impact. So none of us maybe realizes how we affect mass consciousness.
No.
Yeah, yeah. And but
What
you
kind of
gotta try out.
tools do you recommend? What kind of tools do you recommend for healing and for what do you? We know you work with meditation, but hypnotherapy. You mentioned that. You mentioned. Is there anything else that you kind of focus on?
I would say the most important thing is that you have to learn how to ground to the earth and how to open your crown chakra and how to establish an energy flow between those two spheres of your being. Um, we are basically angelic beings in an advanced monkey body. We're living in both worlds.
Yeah.
And you get this connection, then we are online, and open your heart, then you are a decent human being, before you're not working, on your full capacity. And from that, and learning how to project this love, then you're already a good Christian. As soon as you project this love, you're a good Christian, and you're centered in the heart, which makes you pretty much a balanced Buddhist too. And there is no, yeah.
Of that, what do you think was the most, I don't know if you can even reduce it to something that's easily expressible, but what was the most important thing that you feel that you drew from your time in ashrams and in India and in what you learned there? Because so many people think like if I have the chance to go there, then all my problems are solved and I just need to stay there for 6 months in an ashram and I'll be enlightened, and like
Yeah. Well, in the West, have the illusion that life is very important, that your individual is very important. In India, there's people everywhere. Life is cheap. I've seen people dying by the side of the road. The crazy ones, the cripples are brought out to collect money to put to work. So you see the human suffering, the human condition a lot clearer there than in the West, where there's a makeup. Everything, the crazies are put away and put on drugs. The cripples are put in homes. The old people are put in homes. We're living a facade in the West. In India, I've seen how the poorest people camping next to the train tracks, having just a thin cloth above their head, sitting in the mud, and they were cherishing their little babies. Come here, Raja, everybody was just cherishing the little babies, and they had such a good, healthy self-confidence because they were loved. Whereas in the West, some very rich people I met, they had the lowest self-confidence because they never got this unconditional love. So there are a lot of lessons that you learn just from being in a completely different culture. You understand your own culture more. Now, with the scriptures of Hinduism, you're dealing with ultimately with ETs and a deeper, better description of the universe. You don't find this in other scriptures. And that was another really important lesson for me, understanding the way, how to conduct yourself with gods and god forces, what they're capable of doing. The whole etiquette, that was very important for me. Also, how to get protection. I learned this, how to connect I learned the old systems, and that's really helped me in dealing, when I was going into this world with my clients, when I do a soul search, when I do hypnotherapy, and I bring them in the higher consciousnness. Of course, in the scriptures, in the Vedic scriptures, they talk about flying airplanes, vimanas, pushpanjalis, they have different terms for them. So, this whole New Age UFO scene is just a warm-up of what we had, in Vedic times. And so I have a very strong theoretical background on that, then which was supplemented with my practical experiences. I mean, I fought mental battles with the grace that did not want me to hypnotize a certain person, So
And
I
what
now
was that
warn.
like? Tell us about that, if you may, if you want to.
Yeah, okay. So I was hanging out with some friends, and we were just talking about the topic came to grace and abduction, and suddenly I feel this fear in the room, as if somebody pulled out a knife on somebody in the alley and is just about to stab him. That fear that you feel, this animal fear. I felt this all over the place, and well, yeah, it was this young lady. And so I said, yeah, I mean, it looks like you got abducted. Otherwise you wouldn't be feeling this fear right now. And so we just did a regression there on the spot. So I was taken under. And then I noticed, how my mind got blanked. I couldn't even finish a sentence, and I checked in, and there was this kind of gray influences, vibing me, trying to scramble my mind. So I have
people don't understand the
circulation.
reality of this, right? They think still like these sci-fi movies that they're going to step out of these aluminum ships and physically attack you. These are mental creatures, psycho-mental creatures. They step into your mind.
Yeah, they affect your mind, and of course they also have tech. They have astral tech, not physical tech. It's on the different dimension. It's not the Newton space. It's higher dimensional technology that they have. And they have very powerful minds. I mean, compared to them, human is like a dog compared to you.
Yeah.
So they have definitely superior intelligence in some way. So he was trying to scramble my mind. So I'm having this mantra. It's a really harsh one from a very harsh Hindu deity. I'm not going to say who it is. It's the razor in my shoe. And so I started that mantra, and half through the mantra, my mind fizzled out. And I was doing mantra meditation for about 4 hours a day, 2 to 4 hours a day. I have a pretty focused mind if I want to. So I started over again. I got quarter through. I started over again. They stopped me even shorter. And I just said, okay, just did the name. Poof, they were gone. And then, we saw, she got abducted, ovaries were taken, and blah, 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 and released and all the trauma. So that was one battle with them. Another one, there was the Roswell anniversary, and MTV was making a TV show on it. And I was invited as a hypnotherapist to regress somebody. That was abducted by the grace. And so we had a whole team there, about 5 people. They gave me the monster light from the bottom to make it look weird. They had green gel, make it spooky, making fun of it. They were just really thinking we were kooks. And so I'm regressing this boy, and he's up there in a spaceship, and there are the little grays. There are 2 Nordics and American military. And this boy was a military brat. Right? He knew military. He knew how military look was. And he had to go to school the next morning. So he was just like complaining, oh God, I have to go to school. I'm being so tired. And I mean, that was all he was lamenting about. So, I mean, he wasn't just making this up. Suddenly, this young man turned into an 8-year-old boy, and that's what his thought were, next day at school. Not that he was on a far-out spaceship, nothing like that. So I had him get up and walk around. And, we opened one door, and then there was a UFO saucer,
Did you
typical
hear that?
saucer.
Oh my God. You can't make this up. You cannot make this up. I cannot believe this. Wolfgang, are you there?
Oh, they're aware we were talking about them. And
Oh my
so,
gosh.
and then we both instantly at the same time got a splitting headache.
Mhm.
They didn't want us to see this kind of stuff, and I said, screw it, let's just, we got enough in the can here, let's just stop over here. So those producers or whatever, they were very cynical. They were super respectful after that. They were talking to me like that.
Wow.
But, this is kind of some of the stuff that happens,
Yeah. Man, I don't know if I told you about this experience I had. I remember it was in Germany, and I just had my daughter, and it was straight out of like a movie. Like a movie. I'm lying in bed. The window is open, but it was a breezy night, but no breeze was coming through the window. The curtains were perfectly still. My partner was sleeping, but dead sleep, like not to be awake in sleep. My daughter was sleeping, not to be awake in sleep. And I woke up in the middle of the night feeling something's off. And at that time, I didn't know how to, you just wake up in the morning and you wonder why, kind of thing. So I tried to fall back asleep again, and that's when it happened. I felt these beings that were around me, in a circle around me. And I felt like a trapped dog. I felt exactly like a dog that had been strapped to a table, kind of, and that was now being worked on for its benefit, but it didn't understand. It didn't have the mental capacity to understand that this was going to be a good thing, actually. So it's fighting. And I'm in my body and I'm fighting and fighting. And I could feel myself circling inside my body, like running around like a dog. I couldn't move my body. And I could see like a star. It looked like a star, but it came down, and the way it came down, I understand now it's coming down through dimensions. But the way it came down, it was like on a spider kind
thread.
of like, yeah, very gentle and soft, like softer than a feather would fall down. And it felt like it was gliding down on this thread. And that was then implanted onto me. And once they were into me and once they were done, they all just stepped back. And I could feel this peace that just emanated through me. And I could feel like I'm not chasing myself in circles anymore. But I always wondered, was that really a good thing? And did they just make me feel like it's a good thing? And they weren't, because when you experience stuff like that, it's like you have nobody there to guide you, to walk you through it, to help you understand this is a manipulation, or no, it was actually really a good thing, or what. So I don't feel like it's bothered me up to now, but I've always thought about it. Yeah.
Yeah, those things you have to be very discriminative. There are groups like rogue groups like the Zeta Reticular who harvest human genetic material. They say to save their own race, and do this, against regulation and contracts. The thing is on that is they traumatize the people and don't take any precautions because they say, well, they're not going to remember anything anyhow. But the trauma is still there. And so that's a very predatory thing, that could be done differently. It's still illegal to abduct against the will. But anyhow, so there's traumatization from that. Then there's also, human DNA is very valuable to sell to other star races for experiments, etc. And so this is business, like a piracy.
Yeah.
And then I have clients that have a parallel life, let's say as a tall gray on the 8th dimension on a spaceship. Several of those different star races, Pleiadian, and so they have a position on those starships, but they also incarnate here in a human body. And they're my client. They guide it to me, and then I hook them up, and they meet themselves on the spaceship, and they also get abducted and worked on. But it's a positive thing for them.
Yeah.
They're going home. It's just like a soldier, having leave of absence, visiting the family, and then they have to go back to Earth.
Yeah.
So so there is one thing where your star family, where you are the boots on the ground for your star family here to help uplift consciousness, and there's another thing where
that they're here to seed consciousness, and they were seeding consciousness. So that's what I understood, anyways. So.
Yeah. So your question is, are you my own star family? Yes or no?
Yeah.
And if you're not, buzz off. Now there's another thing. That's really important. I had several clients, they were treated by aliens as an experiment. Let's say the Nazis, they made experiments throwing goats out of towers and see, how they break their bones, blah, blah, blah. Very cruel thing. And, what happens if you paint a tiger blue and let them out? Pretty frivolous experiment. And so I had one client where, we were asking the high self, so what are the obstacles, and one thing was, there's this alien experiment. And, whoa, what's the alien experiment? And, well, so to learn, to teach this person how to see with the heart. Well, there seems to be something good, right? So then we asked the high self, so why is this something bad? Well, this means she has to be heartbroken. Oh. Yeah. And she already had plenty of stuff on her plate, so so. Yeah, no, that experiment is not essential for this incarnation, and we canceled that right away. And they're buggered off. I mean, that energy went away right away. So we just called this in, and they were little guys, not grays, and they just buggered off. So that was good.
How do another person attract these? Like, what do people do to attract these entities to them? Because sometimes it's like these. People calling up their own stuff, you know what I mean? So what can you do to stay in a space that keeps you safe, kind of thing, where you don't?
Well, first of all, they're attracted to, starting with ghosts, to people with a lot of life force, with a big aura, advanced consciousness, right? If you're next to animal consciousness, just eating and sleeping, you're not of much interest.
Right.
But if you do yoga and you have a lot of life force and you have a healthy body, you're like an amusement park for them. Look at this. This is like a Maserati, or like a Jag, let's kick it. So as the more you're spiritually advanced, the more you get your unwanted attention of predators. So you got to be aware of this.
That's really important that you say that people have to be aware of this, because there's so many people that are so hard on themselves because they feel like they've been doing all this work, they've been opening up, they've been expanding their consciousness, they've been clearing their shit, and boom, they get hit by all these life, events that come out of nowhere, and then they use that to be hard on themselves. So I guess I'm not good enough. I guess I'm not spiritual.
Yeah, I failed. Yeah.
Because when God loves me, he makes me rich and famous. And then I'm successful spiritually.
No, that's I think more like Job. But then, of course, that is not a real God. That's just an entity. So, well, regarding protection, first of all, you become a prime target. Especially when you have potency and can change timelines for people, then the higher demoniac forces, single you out and try to sabotage you. They probably have been sabotaging you throughout time because they can look through time, and they tagged you before. This happens all the time. It's not theory. I know
see it. this is why I'm so excited to talk to you, and I hate interrupting you all the time, but you're bringing up stuff where I'm like, bam, I know this. I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
People are tagged like years before, and then they get into
Oh,
relationships
lifetimes before.
lifetimes
Inquisition,
before
big time.
suck the life out of them, and they don't know how they ended up there. But excuse me, I'm so sorry. Keep going.
Yeah. Yeah, so, you know, many have been, you know, tortured and killed as light bringers in all kinds of tradition. It wasn't just the Spanish Inquisition. You know, light bringers always challenge the status quo, and the status quo doesn't like it and brings down the hammer, right? And generally it's the demonic forces that are in control of those entities, of the torturers, etc. And they implant them and court them. You know, when you get tortured, your subconscious is wide open and you can be implanted like crazy.
Yes.
And so then they get caught and they can just follow them through the timeline and just harass them and this and that. There's also a certain amount of protection there, but it's not an all around. You know, this is about learning here. You know, this is a warfare thing. You know, this is not about enjoyment.
No, this is spiritual warfare.
This is spiritual warfare here right now, and I can get much deeper into this, even with Hindu scriptures. You know, there were similar situations with the Mahabharata. There were similar situations when Ram came. You know, there is kind of historical evidence for that, and they're even finding the cities nowadays. So it wasn't just all a myth. But anyhow, I don't want to defend those positions. So we got attack, you know, from the dark side, and all the traditions that I know that kind of make it, they have definitely a protection ritual, you know, a prayer of protection, you know, whether there's, you know, Christian, Hindu, you know, everybody, you know, that do that, they have to do this, you know, those organizations that don't do protection and clearing, they get polluted and they get taken over really fast. I mean, many spiritual traditions get taken over anyhow. You know,
that's what they were talking about too with the Catholic Church, is that it has been taken over by negative entities, and this is why all these issues were all of a sudden on the rise, like pedophilia and so on. Absolutely, yeah.
Everywhere. You know, most big gurus, you know, have sexual flagrancies. It's I don't want to get into any details. You know, this is all forms of attack, and you know, we should not give our powers away to gurus, etc. I personally think. I mean, there will be people that are completely disagree with that, and you know, it's good to have a master initially. Who guides you, gets you there. But you know, the way I was trained, a real spiritual master teaches you how to get in touch with your own spiritual master, with your own guidance, you know. And so you're not depending on this other spiritual master. He's not going to be around all the time. You know, you have to learn how to get in touch, you know, with your own divine source. And you know, learn how to fish. You know, don't, you know, depending on the grocery store. That is what a true guru does, and that's, I'm not even considering myself a guru, but I try to teach people how to heal themselves, you know, how to get in touch with their high self, how to communicate, and how to use this connection, how to strengthen this. That's the proper way, I guess, you know. So we're going to talk about protection. So before I get into a car, I do like a big protection thing, because you can get hit so fast in a car, in traffic. You know, it just takes seconds where another spirit takes over another driver, frontal collision. And I mean, I had amazing things happen to me in traffic. And, you know, and then actually supernatural things happen to get me out of it, I have to say. You know, I mean, I've reacted where in time didn't exist. You know, I could do things, many actions in a split second. It's just amazing. So yeah, invoking protection is important, and don't get into a low vibration, anger, etc., grief, guilt, because then you can get really plugged. But all the dark stuff that we didn't want to deal with or we haven't had time to deal with, they're coming up right now. It's the big purging. Big purging. You know, you're not going to ascend with all your subconscious baggage. You're not. You know, with all the karma pending. You are not. So it is like, I'm taking some crude examples, right? Let's say somebody has a lot of suppressed stuff. He seems always friendly, but has a lot of rage. You know, let's say Uncle Bobby has a lot of suppressed rage. Let's say Uncle Bobby gets drunk at the party, and those blocks are taken away. Uncle Bobby turns into a raving monster, right? I mean, so things release. You know, the same, let's say Uncle Bobby would drop an LSD trip. Well, you know, all this stuff comes up, and he's probably going to go on a horror trip, right? So very similar as the vibrations on this planet are going up, the lower vibrations have to surface, and that's why, you know, we're running. Suddenly we get so screaming angry. Yeah, you have a lot of stuff on that issue. You know, that's why we have all those partnership issues. Or we surely have a lot of stuff on partnership issues. And so the more you're clear, you know, the better is the transition. The less you're clear, you know, the more probably problems you're going to have and more difficult it's going to get, you know, unfortunately.
So what
Anything
do you
else you have?
Coming for us?
I'm quite amazed how things changed with North Korea.
Yeah, that surprised me too.
When you get a little bit more insight of what's going on behind the scene, you know, I'm not talking the public official media, which are propaganda nowadays. I mean, if you haven't realized that, you know, you're in La La Land. So, you know, this is not our crowd, you know. There seem to be some very important things happening beyond the scene. I think we made it over the hump, but there's still a lot of work to be done. The question is, you know, how much can be salvaged? That's the only thing. You know, there's people going to ascend into the fifth dimension. I've already had progressed people into the future and called in their future self. And they were fifth dimensional, and they weren't just saying this. It was trippy. When they came in, it was trippy, and that was people in this incarnation making it. So, and these are people I know, and that makes a lot of sense. So, you know, this is happening. This is actually happening. Yeah. We are on the good timeline, but of course you can switch timelines anytime you want. You just lower your vibration, and you have a slightly different reality.
No. Well, Wolfgang, thank you so much. I have your information all at the bottom. So anybody that would like to check out Wolfgang's channel, it's called Tools for Ascension by Wolfgang. He has, once again, amazing meditations, because that's where it starts, is in your mind. And he really guides you to where you need to go. If you feel you resonate with his services, well, that's why I introduced him to you. So, you know, hit him up for a chat or send him an email, and I'm sure he'll be more than happy to get back to you. I think you could have said that for yourself, but I thought I'd do it.
It doesn't look so good. And Karleen, you know, you're also a wonderful person. The energy that you had, that you have, you know, the potential there is awesome. The connection to your high self that you have, you know, you can match. See, once a psychologist, a professional psychologist, told a friend of mine who did a past life regression on the psychologist, she said, you can only bring people in a hypnotic regression to a level that you yourself have reached.
Yeah.
Right. So you can only bring people into the Olymp when you have been there. So you have been a lot of places, very high places. So you can get people there. You can access this part.
Thank you.
You have this ability. You know. So you're doing a great service. You know, the card readers and the psychics are the spiritual master of the masses, I would say, of the masses that don't go to
It's a way in.
institutions.
It's a way in. I didn't start off, to be honest, and I mean, some of you guys that are watching me now might be surprised, but I didn't. I read cards years ago, and then I put them away. And then, yeah, I think last year before last year, I started up again because it connects with people. They look at the pictures and they see what you're seeing. Images arise for them, and it's a tool that is really useful. So it's a way to
Yeah, I
connect.
use
And
cards.
once they come in through that door, they're in my rabbit hole. No, oh my God, I did not say that. No, they drop down the rabbit hole, and then I'm able
dropping down the rabbit hole. That is the way to a new vision. You know, the problems that we have, they can only be solved on a higher level. And that's the rabbit hole, the vision that we inside that we haven't had yet.
Or this tunnel going into the clouds. Let's say that. That's a much nicer vision.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, that's right. Actually, I've seen those. All right.
Oh, man. I'm sure you'll be back, Wolfgang, and yeah, we will not let those energies in any which way, shape, or form affect our work. We will keep going and keep going and keep going.
We just dance with it.
Just dance, yeah. And thank you for reminding to laugh my way through it. And it's not all serious. And it's good to keep that vibration of laughter. So.
But you gotta get through to it anyhow, you know. I mean, you gotta walk through the mud, whether you're laughing or not. You have a better time when you have love and laughter. You know, it's
all right. Well, thank you so much, and I'll talk to you soon.
I love you. Namaste.
Namaste.
Okay.